Hi and welcome to this Sonic Academy tutorial. My name is Paul Hamill, and over the next couple of minutes what we're going to do is demonstrate a quick start guide for Traktor Pro, how you can get up and running and mixing with Traktor Pro in less than 5 minutes. If you're like me, you've probably either downloaded the software from the Native Instruments website, or you've just bought yourself a copy at the shop and you've run home, you've loaded it in, you want to get mixing as quickly as possible without having to wade through a 200 odd page manual. Over the next couple of minutes we'll show you how to get stuck straight in there. So let's have a look here. What I'm going to do first, I'm just going to show you what this is at the bottom. This is the status bar, which displays error messages or status messages within Traktor. I want you to switch this on by going into Preferences, going to Browser Details, and just make sure that is ticked, the show status bar error messages box. The reason for that is that every time we load in a track to Traktor, it analyzes that piece of music to detect BPM information, and so it knows where to set the first beat marker. This is you need to do this. You need to analyze all your music before you play it in Traktor, otherwise it can't work out the BPM. Now it only takes a couple of seconds per track, so it's no big deal, but it's worth doing well in advance of doing your gigs, so that all your tracks are analyzed, so that when you load them into the decks that they'll just play and the BPM information will all be there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to load in some tracks I just have on my desktop. This is just a straightforward way of dragging and dropping. Again, there are other ways of importing your music into Traktor, probably much better ways than we're going to show you right now, but this is the quickest way. We'll show you the other methods in tutorials coming up soon. So I'll navigate to my desktop here. I am going to load in two tracks. I'm going to load that into deck A and this one into deck B, and you'll notice the status bar there at the bottom. That's Traktor analyzing the music to detect where the first beat is and work out the BPM information. You'll see it's dropped the beat marker on the very first kick drum there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to show you a basic way of getting up and running. We're not using any sound card. I'm not monitoring this on my headphones. This is just really mixing on site. So I'm going to press play on this deck. Play on this deck. Now you'll see the phase meter here is veering towards the left. That tells me that the tune on deck B is a little bit slower than the tune in deck A, so it needs brought into sync, and we do that by nudging these pitch bend buttons. Now you'll see that yellow line has disappeared, so we have two red lines in our decks. That means that both tracks are in sync and they're beat matched. So I know that when I move this crossfader into the middle, that the tracks will mix perfectly. So let's see how it goes. There we are, crossfader in the middle. Then obviously you have your mixer controls here, your faders up and down. We have kill switches on our bass. We also have it on the mids and highs as well. We have filters here. They have some effects. It's as simple as that, really. As I said, a couple of minutes to get you up and running. What I'm going to do now, you may have noticed that both these tracks are the exact same tempo. So I'm going to load you in something that has a different tempo. Show you how to mix that as well. It's worth noting as well, our pitch control, our pitch can go up in different percentages. If, like me, you've come from a background where you've used turntables and CDJs, you'll be probably used to working within either a plus or minus 10% range. Now you can go in and select a preference here as to what pitch range you would like to use. So we go to transport controls. I've selected the pitch range as plus or minus 8%. So the default is slightly different. So if you want to use this, that's where you go. You go into preferences under transport and go to the heading that says pitch. So we will bring this track back to the start by clicking this button here. Press play again. Going to mix this one in. Press play. Now you'll notice this track is at 125 BPM. We want to bring it up to 127 BPM like deck A. So what we do is we press sync. Sync has increased it up to 127 BPM, you'll see there. And I know when I move the crossfader across, both tracks will be mixing. Now you can actually hear there is a slight delay on the kick on deck A, or sorry, deck B. We can nudge it like that. Now that's primarily because while Traktor has detected the BPM, it hasn't actually set a beat grid on that track. Beat gridding is something that we'll talk about in one of the more advanced tutorials later on. But when you set your beat grids and you hit sync, it mixes in perfectly every time. So that just allows you to manually nudge that back a bit. As simple as that. That's both tracks in sync and beat matching. So there you go. In our next tutorials coming up, we will look at the decks in more detail. We'll show you how the transport controls work. We'll show you how all the mixer controls work and how you can customize them to suit your preference. We'll also have a look at the browser as well and show you some cool tricks for really organizing your music and making tracks easier to find and knowing where all your playlists are stored and that kind of thing. So check right back.